Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Industrial Edits, the first ever podcast series of SCMS NOIDA. This is Managing and I have here with me today Armanjeet Singh, and we'll be your hosts for today. The topic for today's discussion is creating a strategic business plan in line with agreed goals to recreate and enhance enterprise value.
The viewers must be wondering, what does the topic exactly mean? Well, putting it in layman's terms, it's about how organizations can recreate a strategic business plan that is in line with the goals and can help them recreate and enhance the enterprise's values and would benefit the organization and yield more profits.
Now that we know what we'll be talking about today, as explained by Armanjeet, I think it would be safe to say that we can move forward with this episode. Today, we have a very special guest amongst us who has over 22 years of experience. He did his Bachelor's of Engineering from the Gujarat University and his post-graduation in International Business from Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. He's currently the Managing Director and co-founder of Metalifesciences. Talking about his experience, Sir has worked in different managerial positions such as Business Manager at Polo International, General Manager at Ranbaxy, Vice President at Alembic Pharmaceuticals, President at Nectar Life Sciences, and Director of Queen's Atlantic Investment Group. Sir, you have quite the portfolio. Without further delay, I am pleased to welcome Mr. Vivek Kaushik.
Well, good afternoon, Mitali and Armanjeet, and thank you for the introduction and this opportunity to interact with young students like you. It's always a pleasure for me to do so.
Everyone, today's episode is dedicated to all the management enthusiasts, and we have been blessed with an opportunity of having a corporate professional amongst us today. As mentioned before, the topic for discussion is going to be about creating a strategic business plan in line with the agreed goals to recreate and enhance the enterprise's value. Sir, please brief us about the topic once, according to your perspective as to what it means to you, and it would be great if you could just give us an example from your own personal experience working in organizations to eventually founding your own company.
Well, the topic that we have today is a very fundamental concept, but it has an increasing relevance in the past, present, and future. So it draws from the past, it is enacted in the present, and it leads you to where your future is. From that perspective, if we look at a strategic business plan, the importance is how the leadership or entity management is looking at taking their activity into the growth path. So that's one way to look at it. And then there is a component of the statement in your topic, which is agreed goals. And the second part is either recreate or enhance the enterprise value. Well, agreed goals comes from the perspective of the outcome of planning. What are we planning? So, as you know, any organization would, define itself in the industry that it is in and what it wants to do as a business. So, what they'll say is that this is their vision statement, where they see on a long-term horizon where they are, what they are wanting to become, and also what is, some people then draw down a mission statement from the vision, and that it comes in a more defined timeline of what you want to achieve as your midterm vision in line with your long-term your midterm mission in line with your long-term vision. So this is the part where planning is a tool which not only gives you a roadmap, it also gives you what to expect while you are traversing that path. The second part of the component here is recreate and enhance enterprise value. Usually, we know what business we are doing and what are the annual objectives in terms of the business. For example, if you're in either an activity which is manufacturing or sales, you would have your targets in terms of what you're producing and how much you're producing. Or if you're in sales, then you'll say how much are you selling in terms of quantity and in terms of value, what is your turnover. So this is called what is the business of the year. But the company which is owning the business and doing the business is an enterprise. And amongst the industry, they have a space and a certain value depending upon how dominant or how differentiated you are in your own industry. And what is the potential of your differentiated part of your business to grow in the future. And that gives you what is your current value today, and as well as what is the enterprise value as you grow 3 years from now, 5 years from now, or 7 to 10 years, and beyond 10 years is very, very long term. So let's limit ourselves in the horizon, which is, close to 5 years. So in that period, you also need to look at what is the enterprise value. So your strategic plan should be able to deliver both the operational business as well as the enterprise value going forward. So enterprise value is how much is the company valued. It is not the value of your product, or it is not the value of your sales. It is probably, sometimes you hear then mergers and acquisitions that a company was acquired for so much value, and that value is a reflection of the enterprise value. And enterprise value at that stage, looking at what is your differentiation of business, or what is your strength, uniqueness of your activity going forward. You may have certain intellectual property which has got protection for you over next remaining life of the patent or that intellectual property. So you are given a enterprise value far beyond what is your derivative from sales, or what is your EBITDA for the current year or the year under reference. So these are the things which emanate out of this concept of recreating or enhancing the enterprise value while efficiently implementing a long-term strategic business plan into the operating annual plans. To give you certain examples of what is a strategic business plan as an activity, or what's the reflection of growth which leads to an enterprise value. I recall during my time with Renbaxi at that time, we used to have our budget plans which were relevant for what we review what we did in the previous year and what we should do in the next year. So that was the budget planning process. But then this budget planning process had to also set itself in alignment with what was the strategic plan of the company, which we used to call as the next horizon. So like if you're looking at a 5-year sort of a horizon, then we knew that, okay, today we are 1,000 crore company, and we need to be something like at that point in time our long-term plan was to be $1 billion company, which was 4,000 crores or nearabouts at that point in time. So, so each year we needed to plan how we are going to increase our current year activity. And sometimes you realize that if you are growing organically, that means whatever you did last year and you're doing enhancements and you're redeploying or enhancing your resources to do better than last year. So that can give you what is called as organic growth. But sometimes to reach your objectives, you can also evaluate inorganic growth opportunities. And those are that we acquire some related business which is relevant to us, which is accretive to our business, both in terms of activity or something that we do not have. Sometimes you can acquire a company which has got a better technology of doing the things that you are doing currently. So you get operating efficiency. So these are some of the elements in a strategic plan which are reviewing options like how you can do it organically or how you can exercise certain inorganic opportunities as well.
Well said, sir. Thank you. Now, moving on. Sir, you have explained to us well as to what a strategic business plan means and its significance. So, can you tell us what is the process of creating a strategic business plan in line with the agreed goals in an organization? And can you elucidate by giving us an example from your own personal experience?
Well, the process of creating a SBP is something that the senior management or the executive team usually involves itself in looking at a growth where they want to see their organization over the horizon under consideration. So you normally have the vision and mission of the organization. If it is already developed or defined, that's one area to start making a plan from. Or if it is not, then you kind of evolve your vision and mission in line with what are your aspirations. So this is where it comes from. But this is as a plan is more specific. It is very time bound. It is drawn upon a horizon under review. For example, it could be a 5-year plan, but then that 5-year plan is not just end outer year plan, but it is also then made backward into step of what is the first year plan, second year plan, or third year plan that leads to your 5th year plan, and then you call that as a strategic plan. So the steps involved there is reviewing your existing as is situation where you are, and drawing upon a fair analysis of your own strength, your own weaknesses, as you people would understand a SWOT analysis, and also be very mindful of the industry trends and the industry competition. So from there, you would get a sense of, what is the business about and what does it look like. And from there, you draw upon where you are today. You could be at an activity which can be defined as, for example, you are at an X activity, and where you want to be in 5 years, you need to be X plus whatever is your definition of the plan, whether it is in terms of your size of business, whether it is in your expansion of business. Expansion of business could be in geographies, or it could be going international. So all those are components of what is your planning to be in 5 years. Then what I'm trying to say is that there is something known as you need to select your strategic options. I did touch upon the point whether you can grow organically to that stage, or you want to bring in certain options where you think that once I attain a threshold, let's say in 2 years organically, in the third year I need to have probably a targeted M&A or acquires, a buyout a business, or bring in a strategic partner, or bring in some growth capital which is beyond my existing working capital to enhance the business, whether in geography or in portfolio of products or in activity which is going beyond the limited ones that you're currently able to do. Then the next part of this strategic options is to establish from these options what is the best option that suits you in terms of your own limited resources. Because you see, aspirations are always large, and sometimes they can be fairly beyond what you can currently think. But the resources to reach those objectives need to be real, or if you do not have those resources, you should have a plan how to bring in those resources. So that is where the growth capital comes in. Sometimes in between, people think that, okay, they will, if you are not a public limited company today, but you'll work like this for some time, create a threshold to have growth capital from an IPO or growth capital from a private equity. So those are the other things to establish your strategic objectives. So from those strategic objectives, what you people normally know, and you must have already learned, so I won't repeat that. So what you do is you set out from the long-term objective, the short-term goals, and the operating milestones. For example, you can have your current year's budget is in line with your long-term strategic plan, and you need to have those common agreed goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound, what normally is known as SMART. So that's where you get down to these things. And a very important part of strategic planning is not just a plan, but there also has to be a related execution plan. And when you come down to the execution plan means resourcing the organization with the right amount of capital, whether it is the operating expense, or whether it is the capital expense, or it is the human capital, or it is augmenting your workflow with tools which are now IT enabled, like the enterprise resource management, or the how you bring in the accounting modules, all sales and distribution, technology, R&D. So all those components are to be fitted around the execution of that plan. Coming back now, that how we did it in my own personal experiences. So we were in a particular organization where I mentioned about Ceylon Labs. We were a loss-making organization, and so our short-term objective was to turn around the organization and then build up that business. And once we did that, our objective was to create enterprise value, and the company did succeed in that objective by finding a strategic buyout opportunity. So that's how this goes.
I will take this information straight to the books. Thank you, sir. Audience, we have come to the end of part 1 of this episode. We will be continuing with this episode. Stay tuned for part 2.